Hello and a very warm welcome to Talking Europe and indeed to the European Parliament. This EU institution has an annual budget of 1.7 billion euros. In total, over 7,500 people work here on a full or part-time basis, including, of course, the EU's 751 MEPs. Altogether, those MEPs cost EU taxpayers an annual total of 224 million euros in salaries and costs. It's the costs of the allowances that we're going to take a closer look at today. The EU anti-fraud agency OLAF has accused a number of MEPs of misusing parliamentary funds and ordered them to repay hundreds of thousands of euros. For her part, the leader of the French National Front is crying foul, calling it a politically motivated attack. To tell us a bit more, I'm joined by Chair of the European Parliament's Budgetary Control Committee, German MEP Ms. Inge Grasle. Welcome to the show. On the other side of the table, I have British MEP for the UKIP party, Mr. James Carver. And across from you, I have Austrian MEP for the Greens, Ms. Ulrike Lunacek. And finally, last but not least, French MEP for the National Front, Mr. Bruno Gollnisch. Mr. Gollnisch, perhaps I'll start with yourself, given that the National Front, members of the National Front have been accused of using European parliamentary money for fake jobs. Indeed.
I have been, and they are taking from me 300,000 euros, and that means each month three quarters of my allowances. So that means that it's very costly for me each time that I come here. But I think it's perfectly unfair. It's perfectly wrong. This is not a decision of the Parliament up to now. We will see what the Parliament will decide. But it's a personal decision of the Secretary General, Mr. Welle. Yes.
No,
yes.
I'm a member of the Bureau as Vice President. I sit in there. We decide that in there. It's not a personal decision of any functionary of this Parliament. For sure not. It's the Bureau of the Parliament.
Investigation.
No, there has been absolutely no decision of the Bureau in my case.
But in the case of Marine Le Pen,
there has been not even yet a decision of the questors. To which I appealed, and I say is also the European Court. Here, I will give you. I will give you.
But the ultimate question, Mr. Gollnisch, is that there are people getting salaries from the European Parliament that aren't working in the European Parliament, that are doing national work.
There are two kinds of assistants.
One from
I don't know if the English term is the exact accredited assistants, which should work here, and local assistants in the constituency, in the state where the member has been elected. My assistant was a local assistant. Here I have a certificate of an official of the Court of Justice.
So you say he worked full-time here and not in France?
That he perfectly worked for me, that he has a perfect knowledge of the 600 files. And Mr. Welle, the Secretary General,
but he also campaigned in France.
He acted on the order of Mr. Schulz.
No, Mr.
Schulz.
Slow down.
Mr. Schulz himself is an arch. But I will just complete, because people must know that Mr. Schulz himself, who began all this process, is an arch enemy of all Eurosceptics. Okay, and he himself, as, by the way, a report of Mr. Grasle proved, he has led his personal assistant. There's one who complained
about you, and as member of the Bureau, I can tell you very clearly, yes, Mr. Schulz, as President, started telling us what was found by the DG Fins, which is the financial department of the Parliament, with misuse of several MEPs of their accredited assistants for party purposes, and that was your party, the Front National. There is this organigram. And you can see here where Marine Le Pen's accredited assistant, Madame
Christine
Grisset, that she was an accredited assistant.
Yes.
She never really lived here. They checked. She was registered with some other accredited assistant, but the neighbors never knew her. There's records, and Olaf has been verifying that as well. She hardly ever used her badge to come into this Parliament, and I don't think Marine Le Pen would have smuggled her in, would she? So there is proof that she never worked for the Parliament. And apart from that, the rule says, and you know there are rules in the European Parliament, and when you're elected to the rules, you should also use them. I brought them to you in French, and it says clearly that the fonctionnaires, which are the assistants, accredited ones, or local assistants
are not fonctionnaires.
Sorry, that none of those, the accredited assistants and assistants are not supposed and they shouldn't work with any political party. Here, all the red ones are accredited assistants, no, the yellow ones, and the red ones are local assistants that work for the FN Front National Party. This is illegal. Monsieur Gollnisch, can I finish? I let you finish, now it's up to me. This is illegal under European rules.
No.
And if you're elected to this European Parliament, you're not allowed to have your assistant, be they accredited or local, work for your party at home. It's simply illegal, and that's why the European Parliament, OLAF, which is the European Fraud Agency, and the French authorities are investigating. I can hand that to you so you can have a proper look at it and in the future not do that.
It is very clear,
briefly answer,
there is a ban.
First of all, as you said rightfully, we published the functions of all our assistants. So there is no fraud.
Mr.
I will give you this example.
Mr. Gollnisch, I still have I haven't got the answer to that question.
Yes.
This parliamentary assistant...
But I would like to answer Mrs. Lunacek.
Just the fact that Ms. Grichet wasn't registered in Brussels, had no telephone, ESB, her daughter was in school in France.
She had.
So,
yes, she had. But why don't we think... You will ask Marine Le Pen. It might be that Mrs. Grichet was constantly with her, as hundreds of journalists could check.
The EU rule is that if you're a parliamentary assistant for the European Parliament, you have to be in the European Parliament. And if you're a local, it's a separate type of assistant.
Yes, but for example, my assistant was a local assistant. There was no inquiry from OLAF. There has not been any decision of the Bureau in my case. Otherwise, I should have appeared.
But there are a number.
In front of the Bureau.
You're asking for over $1 million back from your party.
Sorry?
The European Parliament is asking for over €1 million back from your party as a whole.
I'm trying to answer you that this is a racket. A political racket. I should have the right. My assistant should have the right to be heard by the Secretary General, Mr. Welle.
Ms. Grasser, how does it work? How does it work?
It's quite clear that without the European Parliament's funds, the Front National is nothing. Yeah. The budget of the Front National is around about 11 million euros. What is drawn out from European Parliament's budget for Front National members is around 20 million euros. And this I find highly questionable, that the European taxpayer has to fund, and here this is a proof, did fund a political party. This is not the proper use of European Union money.
Leave me answer this very serious question.
Ms. Grasser's question
for example, Mr.
Parliamentary assistants should not be paid by the EU.
Mr. Loiseau is a member of this Parliament in the Agricultural Committee. Okay, he hired an assistant. This assistant is a specialist of agricultural economics.
But he has to work for
He appears in this small document that is given to the journalist as a specialist, as an expert on agricultural problems.
Yeah, but
it is quite natural. It has nothing to do.
If he's working
it has nothing to do with Mr. Schulz, who asked, for example, his assistant.
I still don't understand. If he carries out
make
work
his laundry
in France, then why should other EU citizens pay his salary? That's where I'm getting lost. Yeah. Indeed, if he works on European issues, that's fine. He gets the EU.
That's the case.
But if he's working for France,
that's the case.
This is your party.
But we are not pure spirits. We are elected by a party. We are elected from a country. We are involved in the politics in our country. As all members, as for example, the assistant of Mr. Jadot, the same party as Mr. Lunacek. The assistant of Mr. I'll give you the name, Mr. Alexis Bro.
Let's not name list by list, because it's the general rule I'm trying to understand.
He's an assistant to the mayor of Alon.
Mr. Gollnisch, you confirm.
And he's accredited
We understand the idea of overlap.
Even if you are very loud in telling us the same things, you really underlined that the illegality of what the European Parliament complains. It is illegal to put paid assistants here in this organigram in the party. This is illegal. This is the point.
It's illegal.
This is exactly the point.
It is just to help journalists to contact.
Mr. Carver is staying very silent. How do you feel about
European
it?
law.
Because 8 out of the 20 UKIP MEPs have also been accused of taking European Parliament money for...
The reason I'm in quiet is because I'm sitting here and I'm actually sort of picking up on the body language here. And I think irrespective of what side you're on, it's quite clear that there is very much no presumption of innocence here, as there is under British law. And I think that's what I find very alien to the whole concept here. If an allegation is made, you're pretty much hung out to dry until they've been heard. And of course, the decisions made by questions by politicians, often political opponents, through the Bureau, often political opponents. So it's actually, the whole presumption of innocence is, and obviously, my colleagues will wholeheartedly dispute, and evidence will have gone in to actually say,
defend where that money was
that's
come
from.
Ms. Lunacek,
Carver, on your party, UKIP, and UKIP is a member of the European party that's called ADDE.
Alliance for Direct
And they, in 2015...
But that's a pan-European party. That's not a European parliamentary. It's not like the EFDD.
Wait, but that's the European party that UKIP is part of. And for
some
European parties
that
UKIP is part of. UKIP MEPs help funding this European party. For European parties, the rule is similar. You're not allowed to fund from this European money, from this European party, any national issues like for national elections. UKIP in 2015 funded via the EDI money, this European party money, 9 studies in 9 constituencies where UKIP members wanted to get elected to Westminster. That's the British Parliament, the UK Parliament, no relation whatever to European issues.
Can I come in?
So,
Yeah,
sorry,
Mr. Carver.
this, even though there hasn't been, now the British courts are investigating on that, so there hasn't been any sentence yet.
But again, we have here a member of the Bureau already making a decision where before a decision has been made.
With proof, Mr. Lunacek.
But this is what we're hearing. Please, before due process has taken place and all evidence and the opportunity has been given to give a reply. And this is what I find so frustrating in the situation. It seems to be one rule for one and one rule for other. So much money in European grants was given to before the referendum, over many years in a run to media organisations, for example, pushing the pro-European agenda.
I would like to come in here at your point. The presumption of innocence. We are at the point of administrative investigations and administrative results. The Bureau does administrative results, and they are mandated from the whole Parliament for that.
Only if you've had the chance to reply.
You need a decision.
But if you're speaking,
you need a decision, and then you can go to the Court of Justice to apply against. But of course, the European rules say that the decision taken by the Bureau has immediate effect.
And it means
administrative investigations, and you are not the only one to complain about that.
There has to be a proper answer.
This is the rules, Mr. Carver.
We're already here.
They talked to
what we've been hearing.
Ms. Lunacek, maybe tell us.
Just don't.
Ms. Lunacek, hang on. Maybe tell us where.
That's what it is.
Let me come in.
I don't
If that is the
understand it.
case, why is there a meeting later this week with one of the most senior members of the European Parliament on this very issue?
If
that was the case,
how do these cases come about?
Because due process hasn't been completed.
These cases come about because the administration of the Parliament, who is in charge of reviewing the papers that the parties sent to tell them how did they use the money that was given to them in last year, 2015, 2016. Parties have time until March, I think, to give that in, and then the European Parliament checks what really has been done. So UKIP sent in, EDI, the European Party, sent in the document. Mr. Carver, would you want to listen? Well, I think these men simply don't want to listen, and they don't want to hear the truth.
You, Mrs. Lunacek, you don't want to listen. Was there a hearing? Was there a hearing from UKIP? Was there a hearing with me?
You don't want to listen. Of course, UKIP also was listened. EDI, the European Party, was listened to. Of course, and it was seen that they had said we funded 9 of those studies for how our candidates can make it to the Westminster Parliament. This has nothing to do with it. You sent it in, and that money has to be paid back, 170,000
Ms.
euros.
Gressler, we're running out of time. Final word.
You're perfectly entitled to be against Europe, but please do it with legal means.
Absolutely.
And what is the problem is that you do it with illegal means. This is not correct. The European taxpayer, really, he has to await legal means, and he has to await that everybody follows the rules. And this means that the rules are not followed. With the UKIP case as well, we have plenty of cases from small foundations, small political parties founded to draw out money for national purposes. This is illegal.
Well,
and this is clearly to everybody because the rules are for everybody the same.
But we are doing politics in our home state, even if we are dealing with European problems.
Mr. Gollnisch, I fully understand you, but this is the problem as anti-European parties are only interested in national issues.
But are you saying it's only anti-EU? It's not only Eurosceptic MEPs or Eurosceptic parties that have been questioned on this issue.
Yes,
it
is a fact that we are not in favour of building a European super-state. That is the real problem.
It's not only the Eurosceptics, but we have seen over the last couple of years a rise in this big mass of really fraudulent behaviour. We've seen that only by those parties who want to either get out of the EU or destroy the European Union. But there have been other cases, smaller ones before, but this is really a scheme behind.
How can you say fraud when the document that is the basis of your allegation has been published?
I gave you this document that says that what we did wrong.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm afraid we're out of...
Has been published by ourselves. If there were fraud, we wouldn't have published this kind of document.
Thank you all so much for giving us your insight. I'm not sure we've made things much clearer on the issue of parliamentary assistance. We'll have to start that debate again, perhaps, so follow it on another day. But thanks indeed to my guests for having joined us. Thanks also to you at home for having watched. Join us again after the news for more Talking Europe.